Last week, I released a video about my evolving philosophies around my yarn stash. It's a difficult balancing act of accepting my responsibilities around consumerism while simultaneously trying to honor creative expression. This week's video is much lighter in comparison. It is a tour of the yarns in my collection and some thoughts about their performance as I've used them. Before starting on that though, I have some charts to share. The first chart here shows my yarn stash over time. I only started tracking this last year, but I hope to check in once a year moving forward and seeing how my yarn collection sort of fluctuates over time. I really hope to approach it both critically, but also with gentleness and curiosity. The third point on this chart is how much yarn I have right now, because I did set aside some yarn from today's video and found a really great home for it where it will be fully appreciated. The second chart shows the yarn bases represented in my yarn stash, the big players being merino wool, cotton merino blends, superwash merino, and alpaca, which mostly comes from my drops air. The last chart is just fun. It shows the colors represented in my stash, and I actually feel really good about this distribution of color. The white represented does make complete sense, and you can tell here that my latest fixation has definitely been adding more blue. All that being said, let's move on to the next part. This is the phase of the video where I talk about the specific types of yarn I have and thoughts about them. What's the opposite of a recommendation? Warnings? Cautions, mayhaps? I am typically a budget yarn kind of gal, but I do have a pretty solid variety. First up, we have Capri Eco Cotton, which has actually been discontinued. This is just a mess. It's so tangled. It's very similar to the sugar and cream cotton, although I did prefer this. It's very difficult for me to pull the trigger on this, but I think I'm going to donate all of this. With the exception of the white yarn, I do want to keep that. It's good to have on hand. There are some seasonal projects I like to work on. I've been doing these spider webs and I might continue doing them, so I would like to keep the white yarn, but all the other yarn in here, donate. This is Garn Studios Bamboo Linen Blend. And I was gifted this by a friend. I have a knitting friend now, and we've been exchanging yarn with one another, which has been really helpful. So she gave me this collection of white yarn, and I am still totally undecided on what I'm going to make with it. When it's on the skein, it feels a little bit rough, but she was telling me as soon as she washed it, it really softens up nicely, and also it's really not even that rough. This could also make just a nice bag material, or a base for dyeing, but I struggle with yarn dyeing, so we'll see if I feel motivated to dye any of this. I am so unbelievably warm right now. I need to change out of this sweater, I get asked about this sweater every time. This is the Sibling Sweater by Laura Penrose. It is a scrappy version done in drops air in various colors. And I'm going to put on a t-shirt now. Oh, this t-shirt, by the way, is from Averp. She's a fantastic YouTuber, knitting. Check her out and love the graphic. She's a crochet t-shirt too that I have. This next yarn I purchased when I was doing a yarn tour of Portland. I had lived in Oregon for like 5 years and had never been to a yarn store in Portland. So I ended up going, hitting most of them up. Not most of them, hitting like 4 of them up. There's probably way more. But one that I ended up getting, this is Haiko Kobasai, which is a cotton bamboo silk blend. And I think this would be fantastic as a tank top. I think this would make a really great camisole number 7. I really like my white version and I would love to have another one. Oh, should I talk more about the yarn? It's very soft. It's very soft. It feels like the silk is doing some really good work for this, for making it really smooth. Cotton makes it soft, but they had a sample in the store knit up with this material and it felt amazing, so that's why I ended up buying it. This is Drops Belle. It is my favorite budget cotton linen blend yarn. It holds up really well. It washes really well. It's what my first camisole number 7 was made out of. I say first as if I'm definitely gonna make the second one. That's a really hopeful statement. I do really like this. However, I am paying for the sins of a younger me that purchased too much yarn. She got really overexcited and overbought. I wish this was a different color. I have a bunch of this beige tan now, and I don't really know entirely what I want to do with it. Maybe stripe it? How do we think the tan and navy blue would stripe? Like what? Yikes. What do you think? Do you think these would go good together? So this yarn I really do adore. I just kind of regret the quantity that I purchased. Yep, that's it. I've been getting way better at shopping for yarn and really not over consuming with my yarn purchases over the past year, but probably 3 years ago maybe was when I just was buying way too much yarn. And so I'm still dealing with those mistakes. We live and learn. I'm going to try not to beat myself up too much about it. This is Mirasol Yusun yarn. It is a cotton yarn. Yep, cotton, just had to check. And it's a chainette yarn. It's basically a really thin strand of yarn that has been chained, kind of like if you chained with crochet, and it has this really cool texture to it. Bought it 2 years ago, still haven't used it. Don't know what I'm going to use it for. I am so bad at this. But I'm also moving into a phase with my knitting where I want to do more experimental stuff and less typical projects. This yarn is thin and structured enough where I wonder if it would pair really well with beads, because I would love to do some beading with knitting. So that's a potential idea with this. This is Patton's linen yarn. It is a linen blend, as are pretty much all my linens. I don't think I have a single like solidly linen. Yeah, 65% cotton, 35% linen, mostly cotton. I regret this, and I am also going to throw this into the donation pile. The yarn feels totally fine. I think it's a really great linen blend option. It definitely feels a little bit more rough, but with linen, the whole thing with it is that it softens up the more you wash it. The reason I regret buying this, I introduced to my closet 2 different types of red, a very saturated bright cherry red and a very desaturated orangey brick red. And they clash, and I found that I do really prefer that bright cherry red as opposed to this orangier brick color. So this just wouldn't work with a lot of clothes in my closet. It would seriously clash, and that's why I regret this. It was on sale, it was an impulse purchase. I'm learning. One thing to keep in mind is I am planning on donating quite a bit of my yarn, and that's not an excuse for me to buy a lot more to replace what I've gotten rid of. I'm really trying to avoid the cycle of decluttering all of your stuff and then rebuying a bunch of stuff because you decluttered too much. I'm trying to be very intentional and purposeful with what I am decluttering. This is another declutter. Again, for the same reason, it's that same like clay, rusty red color. This is Kobu yarn. It is delightfully soft. I would like to consider this yarn type in future projects. It's by Lion Brand. Oh, and it's approved by the Knitted Knockers. Same problem. I would recommend this though. I haven't worked with it, if I'm being honest, but it feels fantastic and it looks really nice. The only thing is I could see this fading over time. Cotton yarns tend to have that issue where they either actually fade or they can just appear faded with the way that they fuzz up over time. So you'd have to not care about that, which is why I'd probably go with a lighter color, a more pastel-y color. It's the yarn I'm really embarrassed about. I'm leaning towards donating it. I was so excited when I bought this yarn. I had a project in mind, and my style has since changed, and I'm no longer as into the project idea as I once was. I was gifted the Pinta Pillar pullover, which I absolutely want to make, and I fully plan on making this year. And my initial plan, because I saw someone make it with this yarn, absolutely beautiful the way theirs turned out. So I bought the yarn myself because I wanted to make the same one. And now, while I still love it visually, it's really awesome, I don't know if I would make that. I know I wouldn't really wear it that much. So I'm leaning towards donating this. I just feel really bad. I feel like I've failed with the amount of yarns that I want to give away right now. It's mostly my plant fibers, which is what I'm starting with, so it's gonna slow up. I'm not donating all my yarn, but I'm inclined to donate this, especially because I'm in a place where I can afford to buy new yarn if I change my mind at some point in time. I just don't see myself being excited to use this yarn anytime soon, and it is very fun. So this is the Barocco Bozzolo yarn. Very soft, very soft. I could see it not being the strongest in the world, but I think it's completely unnecessary for your yarn to always be like super strong. So I'd recommend it less for household goods, which usually need to be a little bit more durable, and this would be probably better as a wearable or more delicate item. This next yarn is pretty special. My parents bought it when they were on a trip to Europe. So this yarn they specifically bought in Belgium, and they wrote a letter to me about the shop owner and their fun experience with that. And they included a photo too of the exterior of the shop in Belgium. So cute. I do not currently have a plan in mind for this yarn. I'm so intrigued by it. It's very interesting. It's a linen yarn mixed with a little bit of viscose and a little bit of cotton. Once again, I'm thinking tank top. I think I'm just so in a tank top mood right now. I should probably cast one on soon. It's very soft. It feels very silky. That's definitely the viscose in there doing its work. And it's just this like really beautiful pink color. This bin is chocked full of just Drops cotton merino yarn. It's my favorite fiber blend is cotton merino. You get this beautiful drape, it's soft, it's warm but not too warm, you get the breathability, it washes really well, and I've used a bunch of it over the past year. It is, I think, my favorite budget yarn right now is the Drops cotton merino. I also still have a bunch of multicolored scraps of this yarn left over, so I should probably do a scrappy project at some point in time. Someone recommended I should do scrappy I-cords, and I like that. I like that a lot. Also a cotton merino blend. This is Happy Place it's a collab between Tony Lipsy and Hobie. I have it in what I thought was white when I bought this. It's the color powder, I think they call it, which is actually a light pink. So now I know powder is pink, not white. And I have it in petrol, which is sort of a teal color. I tried making a loose knit sweater that did not work out. I'm really struggling to nail the construction of a loose knit sweater. It's one of those things in my head, I'm like, should be so simple. It should be so simple, and I cannot get it right. So if you have recommendations for patterns, please let me know. It's incredibly soft. The main difference between this and the Drops Cotton Merino is stitch definition and fluffiness, which contributes to the stitch definition, so it's kind of the same thing. The Happy Place is a bit fluffier, where you're gonna see more of a halo, whereas the Drops Cotton Merino is a lot more tightly twisted, so you get a lot more stitch definition. I prefer the Drops Cotton Merino, but if you want more of a halo to your knitting, the Happy Place would probably be a better bet for you. This is yarn that I bought when I was in Spain last year. It was a really nice hole-in-the-wall yarn shop and loved looking around there, and I picked up a couple yarns, but this one I was particularly excited for because even touching it now, it has this very cooling feeling, and I think it's more of a fingering weight yarn. So I think this would make a really fantastic, lightweight, summery sweater. I love this. I can't wait to work with it. It is 100% bamboo. Yeah, that tracks. But it just feels so much nicer than some of the other bamboos I've seen. And the color, the Cinderella blue, totally digging it. This is Loops and Threads Luxe Merino. Yes. My memory serves me well. I specifically bought this to use for gift knitting, furthermore, baby knitting. It's very soft and it is machine washer friendly, which is a big deal for me if I'm gift knitting to people that have babies. So I just want to keep this in hand and use it to whip up projects when I'm specifically doing knits for children. It is soft. It does have that plasticky feeling, so I don't know how much I'd want to knit it up for myself just because I really have a sensitivity to that plasticky feeling, but it does work up really well. It's easy to work with, and I made a clone trooper sweater out of this, which turned out really fantastic. This is the Big Boy Pound of Love yarn. It is 100% acrylic and it is very soft. And it's specifically for a friend of mine. She wanted something that was machine washable and dryable. I gave her a bunch of different yarn options and I am making the Brady Loop sweater for her. Finally got dimensions for the sweater over Thanksgiving. And so I'm gonna work this up as soon as I am done with some of my current projects. I'm also going to make a matching one for myself. I am 85% sure that this is West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply wool. And I specifically bought this to have a nice affordable budget yarn to work up socks in. West Yorkshire Spinners, I would not use this for anything other than socks. It holds up really well, but it is itchy and it is rough. We're over halfway done. I'm not going to cover every single yarn remaining because I have a lot of scraps of just random one-off yarns. This is the Drops Alpaca Boucle. I have really enjoyed working with this, specifically when I pair it with a merino wool. I do not like working with this by itself. It is super annoying. My needles get caught in all the little loops on the boucle, but as soon as I hold it with another strand of yarn, it works up beautifully. This is one of my favorite non-budget yarns of the year. Woolfolk of any kind, but Woolfolk Tauve specifically is what I've worked with so far. I have made a balaclava with this yarn. It is incredibly soft. It is not itchy at all. The colors are super saturated, beautiful. It is a delight to work with, but it is on the pricier side from what I'm used to. So I got this really beautiful, rich, deep blue color. No plan yet. No plan on this yet, but I'm gonna noodle on it for a little bit. I'll come up with some. A yarn you've probably heard of, maybe even have worked with. This is Knitting for Olives Merino. The number one thing that people learn when they order this yarn for the first time is it's not as soft as they think. It is not a soft merino yarn, but it's also not very itchy. I am extremely sensitive to itch. I have a whole video talking about yarn sensitivity in yarn, giving advice on that and recommending specific yarns. Check that out. Check the comment section out. There are some excellent tips, advice, recommendations in there. But this is good if you don't mind rough yarn. I don't tend to mind rough yarn as much. Obviously, I'm going to prefer something really soft, but I don't mind this. I made a whole bunch of granny squares with this yarn and turned it into a vest, and now I just have extra granny squares that I need to do something with. And I have a whole bunch of this yarn in various colors. The best thing that Knitting for Olive does is colors. They have a wide array of colors and they do beautiful saturated colors. The base they use takes up the dye really well, so that's what they're really good for. Tahiti Cashmere. I bought this on Amazon. Yes, I am embarrassed to say that, but it's true. This yarn is actually quite delightful. It's a fairly affordable cashmere yarn as far as cashmere yarn goes, and it's very, very soft. I made the kilometer scarf out of this. It is my comfort scarf right now. If I really want to be warm, wrap it around myself 80 million times and just feel the coziness. I've wanted to not like this yarn because I got it off of Amazon, but I actually really love it. You might recognize these mini skeins from my intros. I have this in so many freaking colors, and I've been wanting to do a full-on sweater out of these, and I keep not doing the sweater, and I think it's time I turn these into something else. Laura Penrose gifted me the Sweet Shop blanket pattern, which I am exceptionally excited about, and I don't know about you, but I think these colors would be perfect for the Sweet Shop blanket. If I hold the strands double with themselves, it would be beautiful. So dark. This bright light coming from the corner, that's a light that I have in the corner. That is not from the window. It's high noon right now. There should be a lot more light coming in. I'm festering in darkness. Next up, we have Lana Grossa's Cool Wool Big. It is a superwash merino wool, and I just wanted to test it out. I was curious about it. It is very soft. I am excited to work with it. My very set plan is to make the Brady Loop sweater. So I'm making one for my friend, and I want to make a matching one for myself, and I want to do it in this beautiful pistachio green color. I do have more of this, so I have enough to make a sweater. Drops Air. I have a bunch of this yarn. I have made so many things with it, and I still really like it, but I have enough in this yarn. I do not need to be making more. I do not plan on buying any more of this yarn for a while. I do have a ton of scraps of this yarn, which is currently sitting in a project bag, and I have it in various colors, probably like over 10 colors, and I'm planning on making a Larke Beggar inspired, very scrappy knit sweater. I was gifted a whole bunch of yarn from a subscriber. Well, I don't know if they're a subscriber or even a viewer. They just are someone that watched one of my videos and asked me if I wanted yarn. And normally when people reach out to me and ask if I want something, I almost always say no, because simultaneously I feel bad because I make money at my job. I don't need people to give me things for free, so I feel really bad accepting them. And two, I feel like, that's mostly the reason. But for some reason I said yes to this. They just sent me a message saying, hey, I'm destashing a bunch of yarn. Do you want it? And I was like, okay. I didn't know what was going to show up, and I was happily surprised with the collection that was provided. It came in a huge Tito's box, and they told me it was a lot of yarn, and I was surprised. It was indeed a lot of yarn. So this is what is remaining of the yarn that I was gifted, and I just want to show off the one that I am most excited about. It is this camel merino blend, and it is fantastically soft, and it's like a forest green color, but a little bit more earthy and a little bit more cool toned, and I feel like way more drawn to this than a traditional sort of like olivey green. The camel is definitely way more cool toned. I don't know what I'm gonna make with this. I have no plans, but there's so much of it. I can make whatever I want. I kind of want to just make something really oversized and basic that I can just wrap myself in and watch movies. And now I kind of want to buy full-on camel yarn to see what that's about, but I'm holding off. I'm not buying much yarn this year. We're chilling. I do have a whole bunch of bags of just random scrap yarns. I'm not going to go through those. And I would say I went through about 90% of the yarn types and brands that I have right now. Anything that I just had like one ball of and haven't worked with yet, I didn't want to talk about that here just because I don't feel like I have anything to say if I haven't used it. But that is my yarn stash as it currently stands, and I have a whole bunch to donate right now. Oh my gosh.